Hey guys, at 27, she's one of the youngest comedians touring in the country, and she's really funny.
I am Abby Govindan. I'm a stand-up comedian, and today I'm here talking with Natasha.
Do you feel like, are you finding comedy to be lucrative financially?
Great question. Oh my God, I love this question because it's obviously what everyone wants to ask.
Yeah.
But they always find like clever ways to skirt around it.
Like, are you getting rich off comedy?
I'm not getting rich off comedy. So it's a little bit frustrating actually because it feels like, with the off-Broadway run, I just finished up 2 weeks off Broadway and it felt like everyone made money off of it except me. Like
Really?
I netted zero, even though we sold so many tickets and we blew the venue away in terms of ticket sales. But that really just goes to show how expensive like off-Broadway productions are.
How was the run overall?
It was really good. It was
Yeah.
really, really good. The feedback was insanely positive. I got a lot of opportunities I wouldn't have otherwise gotten. I met a lot of other people. I met a lot of people that I wouldn't have otherwise met. Like I'm here sitting across from you on talking with Natasha because my publicist scheduled me for Fox 5 with you.
Yeah.
And you enjoyed our segment so much that you invited me back.
I
and
loved
I'm
your
like,
story. I love how like self-aware you are. And I mean, we talk about comedy, we talk about humor, but there's like a dark side to what you've been through. I mean, you were down in the trenches. You were in the trenches. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was really depressed for a long time, and the show is literally about surviving a suicide attempt. And then after my suicide attempt, I think my parents also realized, oh, wow, we almost lost our daughter. We'd never want that to be the case ever again. And so all of us made an active effort towards being in a better place with one another and with ourselves. And I'm really, really grateful that I reached rock bottom because I wouldn't be here sitting across from you if I hadn't gone to the lowest point of my life and built myself back up. And also, the story that I tell, it's a really harrowing one. It's one that I'm very proud of. It's one that I survived. It's also one that's like steeped in privilege, you know? Like I was struggling with bipolar 2 and I was struggling with mental illness. But at the end of the day, I was hospitalized because my parents had insurance that covered it. And the insurance covered like 90%. So my parents still owed, I think we owed the hospital like $2,000 or something. And because my parents are well off, they were able to afford that. And so I always try to remind myself that there are people like me who are struggling with these issues who don't have the resources to get the help that I got. And so it's a story that I'm proud of, but it's a story that, like I said, is steeped in privilege. And so going to the hospital, coming out, recovering, kind of made me even more passionate about all these issues that I'm already very passionate about. Like it made me even more passionate about universal health care because I was like, if you are struggling with any health issues, mental or otherwise, you shouldn't have to rely on being lucky enough to be born to rich parents to be able to get access to resources. Like anyone and everyone in this country, in the United States of America, the wealthiest country in the world, should be able to readily have access to the health care that they need and that their government has the means to provide and just chooses not to.
And do you feel like also some of the free resources may not be the best resources too? I mean, like the kind of therapists that you pick, right? If they're free, they might not be the best. You might not get the help that you want.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, was on the public healthcare option in New York for a while because I didn't make enough money to have my own, to pay for healthcare from doing stand-up comedy. And I had a therapist who was just really bad. Like I was going through a breakup and she kept telling me to get back together with my ex-boyfriend. I'm so serious. And I was like, oh my God, this is so terrible.
I mean, how is it that like you are basically therapizing your therapist where you're like, wait, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, literally. And so like the free resources are really nice, but I think the issue that comes with that is that we have the means to just make this accessible for everyone. Like I have so many friends who are living and thriving in Europe because they have access to all the healthcare resources that they need. And of course, like I'm not saying that there's not issues with the European system, like wait times are a long time, whatever. But I think that with the United States, with how wealthy we are and how top-notch our medical services are, there really is no reason that we should be gatekeeping it from people without as much money.
Slipping into depression, was that a result from coming out to your parents? And it's funny I say coming out, like as Indian, coming out is like saying, hey, I don't want to be a doctor or an engineer. Yeah. But doing that, is that kind of like their response being like, you always embarrass us, had to be traumatizing? That's a lot.
Oh, for sure. Well, so I remember my dad picked me up from the airport at Thanksgiving break, and I told him in the car, like, I was like, I'm doing stand-up comedy, like I'm going to open mic several times a week, like I really want to do something with this. And he was just literally like just went off on me. He was just like, every other one of our friends' kids like does something normal. They do marketing. Like, you, ever since you've been a kid, have always been the odd one out. Like, why? Why do you do this to us? Like, what did we do in a past life to deserve having you as a kid?
Oh my gosh.
Which of course is a terrible thing to hear. But now, I mean, now I tour all over the country, and kids that I went to Temple camp with, Temple class with, went to elementary, middle, high school with, all these kids that I used to be so envious of at a younger age, because I was like, you guys figured out what you wanted to do so early on, and I always felt like the odd one out. Now they're coming up to me after shows being like, yeah, you know, I only pursued computer science because I thought it was what my parents wanted of me, but I'm not happy, like I want to do something else. A couple of kids that I went to Temple class with, like a non-zero amount, a more than one amount, like at least 4 or 5 now, have been like, yeah, I want to be a stand-up comedian like you.
Wow, you're inspiring people.
Yeah, which like it wouldn't have been thinkable for me in 2017 when I was at my lowest, when my parents were telling me that I was embarrassing them, when I was like, is there something wrong with me? Why don't I have love for, you know, science or math the way all these other Indian kids seem to have so seamlessly? But now I'm really glad that I stuck to my gut. Like I realized that now I was just so unwilling to waver or compromise on my desires, and I'm really glad that I did that so early on, because now I'm a full-time stand-up comedian. I'm 27. I'm one of the youngest touring comics in the country in general, let alone for like women or women of color. And so I'm really, really grateful that I have this journey to like really point to and be like, this is what happens when you know what you want and you just go after it and do nothing else. I mean, the thing with stand-up comedy is you have to find laughter in your daily experiences. And so one thing I am envious of my peers of is like, I have a lot of stand-up comedy friends who worked other jobs before they started doing stand-up comedy.
Kind of like the experience gets built in.
Exactly. Yeah. Like
they've lived life a little longer.
Yeah, they have more life experience to draw on. Yeah. So me, I don't really have any work experiences to draw stand-up comedy stories from. It's just more life experiences. But like my friends who are teachers, my friends who worked in, you know, the service industry, my friends who worked in marketing or corporate jobs before they started doing stand-up, they have this like wealth of experience to draw from stories from. So it's all a give and take. Like it depends on when you decide to take stand-up comedy seriously. I'm just really grateful that I really took it seriously super, super early on, because I was like, okay, I'm going to make this happen no matter what. And I refused to compromise on it. And I'm so grateful that.
What do you love about stand-up comedy?
God, what isn't there to love about stand-up? Well, I'll tell you this. I hate the idea of being famous. I think I've always hated the idea of being famous. I have grown up watching women be torn down my entire life, and I always knew that I could never handle that. Especially as someone who was hospitalized for a suicide attempt, I'm constantly measuring what my mental health can and can't handle. And I feel like if right now at this point in my life, if I were to be the victim of like a humongous hate train on TikTok, the way that Rachel Zegler was, the way that Hailey Bieber is currently being hate trained on TikTok, I don't know if I would be able to survive. I'd like to think that I'd be able to survive it, but I don't know. So everything about, and I've been watching women be torn down my whole life, you know, like Taylor Swift, Ariana Grande, Mindy Kaling, Jamila Jamil. But more recently, it seems to have gotten worse.
Like the vitriol is so bad.
The vitriol is so bad. You just need to piss off like a couple of people on TikTok and they decide that no one likes you, and they're picking apart your whole life. They're finding videos of you from when you were 13, 14. They're finding pictures. They're finding people who had one negative interaction with you over a decade ago. Yeah. And so in that sense, I always knew that I never wanted to be famous. But I love stand-up comedy so much that I love stand-up comedy more than I hate the idea of being famous. So that was kind of a measurement that I did to myself. I said, okay, if you have like 1 or 2 stand-up clips blow up, or if a streamer comes to you tomorrow and says, hey, we want to buy a special, and then you get a special, and then overnight you blow up, you get millions of followers, and then everyone decides that they hate you arbitrarily the way they do for so many women. when you do that mental math, and when I say you, I mean me, like when I do that mental math, is stand-up worth the potential of being the internet's like woman that they hate of the day, week, month, what have you? And to me, the answer is yes. Like the amount of joy that I feel every time I get on stage, every time I connect with audiences and make them laugh, to me is worth the wager of, okay, like even if you become this woman that people hate train on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, what have you, you know that the joy you derive from storytelling on stage and connecting with people is much, much better than any negative thing anyone can say about you. And that is mental math that I've done and I'm happy with. It is sad though, because I mean, like I've been offered, I've never been offered a role, but I've been offered auditions for TV and movie roles where my agents pretty candidly were like, you have an advantage here. They're looking for a very specific type of person and you have an advantage. So if you audition,
a specific person, like how?
Like I've gotten a couple of roles where they were like, we're looking, like one in particular, they were specifically looking for an Indian woman stand-up comedian.
That is like ultra specific.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but I passed on that role because I wasn't comfortable with, what the role entailed. And I mean, I shouldn't say I passed on that role because that implies that they offered it to me. But essentially what they said is, we're looking for a female South Asian stand-up comedian. If you audition, you'll have an edge up on like all the other thousands of people who are also auditioning for this role. And what the role entailed was not anything that I was comfortable with. And I was also doing the mental math of like, okay, am I so passionate about this role that if my visibility goes up tomorrow and then again, like I become the woman of the week, month, what have you, that's hate trained, will I be so passionate about this role that it's worth all that visibility? And the mental math that I do for most roles, the answer ends up being no. I auditioned for a couple of roles that I was really, really passionate about, that I was excited about. Like my friend Zarna Garg got her own TV show, and she's such an immensely talented Indian stand-up comedian. And I auditioned for the role of her daughter in the show. I didn't end up getting chosen, and you know, like so I believe in her creative vision, so I'm sure that whoever they went with is like immensely talented and better fit for the role. But I loved the slides that they sent me for the role because the central conflict of the show, without giving away too much, is between the eldest daughter and her parents, and a major decision that the eldest daughter makes. And I loved it so much.
I mean, because I feel like that's something you went through personally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like I read the slides.
And are you the eldest?
I am,
in your family? Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I read the slides and I was like, I love everything about this. I would love to audition for this show. And so I'm always doing that kind of mental math when I'm auditioning for TV shows and movies of like, I am very happy with the level of visibility I have right now. I have this small cult following that sells out most, if not all, my shows. I'm able to pay my mortgage. I'm able to buy nice cat food for my cat. I'm able to buy my groceries.
Only the best.
Yeah, exactly. Because, I mean, I don't know if my mental health could handle like hyper visibility, you know, and I've watched especially like so many South Asian celebrities before me get torn apart by our own people, by the diaspora. And
do you, are you kind of like with your therapist, without getting too much into it, but like this idea of fear, I mean, are you addressing it? Is that, it seems to come up a lot, like the fear of virality and then what that's going to do, you know?
Yeah. So I think that fear is healthy when you have a good relationship with it. When you have a bad relationship with it, it becomes anxiety. And so I think I've struck this very healthy balance of like, what can I handle in this moment right now and what can't I handle? Yeah. And so I'm constantly, again, like doing the mental math.
It takes a lot of self-awareness.
Yeah. And I'm really, I mean, like that's, again, I really loved my time in the hospital, and I loved, after I was discharged, I went to group therapy every day from like 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Like it was a full-time job, but I really loved the skills that I learned. I learned a lot of resilience. I learned to control what I can control and let go of what I can't control. Yeah. And I think that I'm better off because of it. And I think I have a very healthy relationship with fear. Like I think that tomorrow, if a streamer was like, we want to buy your hour and we'd love to publish it somewhere, I would be really scared, but then I would also just kind of force myself to enjoy the moment as it comes, as opposed to being afraid of like what the worst things that could happen are.
Yeah. I really want to talk to you about that Emily in Paris tweet.
Oh. Let's
dissect. Okay, wait, just explain to everyone, like, what was the tweet that you, like, just sent out?
So there was a show called Emily in Paris. It was the most watched TV show of the pandemic. And in 2021, I just tweeted that I created it, like for no reason in particular. And it just went like mega viral. I think that the first one went so viral that everyone was like, this must be the creator of Emily in Paris.
Okay, got it.
Like half the people who liked it and retweeted it knew it was a joke and the other half didn't. But then like it was just a self-fulfilling prophecy. And then, a bunch of news outlets reached out to me and they reported on it as if I was the creator of Emily in Paris. And then BBC reached out. A journalist from the BBC reached out and she was like, I'd love to talk to you about your TV show, Emily in Paris. It's so interesting that you said, because I tweeted, I was like, Emily in Paris is originally supposed to be about an Indian girl, but when I pitched it, the network exec spit in my face and called me racial slurs. The following week, I repitched the exact same concept with a white girl, and now I'm nominated for 2 Golden Globes. And someone from the BBC reached out, and she was like, it's so interesting how Emily in Paris was originally supposed to be about an Indian girl. I was like, you're with the BBC?
And you didn't do your research.
And you didn't do your research? Well, evidently, what I didn't know, I was credited as the creator on Wikipedia. I did know that. What I didn't know.
What?
Yeah, what I didn't
That's
know.
crazy.
And I'll send you a screenshot. I don't know if there's a visual component to this podcast. I'll send you a screenshot where it says created by Abby Govindan. But that's fine. Anyone can edit Wikipedia. So that was always really funny to me. What I just found out last week, like a full 4 years after this happened, last week my friend was like, hey, did you know that for like a solid 6 months, you were also credited as the creator on IMDb? And IMDb is not open to the public for editing. You have to have like credentials to edit IMDb. So I guess that's the reason that like all of these like journalists thought that I created Emily in Paris. Like someone earnestly went to IMDb, added my name to the created by list, and then
they're like, yeah, this checks out.
And then everyone was like, yeah, this checks out. Like they did their research and they went on IMDb and my name was there and they were like, yep, makes sense. And I was like, I was a 22-year-old comedian living at home with my parents. You guys really think I created Emily in Paris? And it was just really funny. It really changed my life overnight. Like so many production companies that have made the coolest movies you can think of, so many actors and comedians that I had looked up to my whole life reached out to me and they were like, hey, we see what you're doing. We want to help you increase your platform so you can like say and do this to more people and so that they can like hear your comedy more. And I think it was the very first time that I was like watching people resonate and laugh at things that I was saying in real time by the millions. Like this was millions of people got involved. There were news articles written about it. My like social media following like doubled overnight. It was crazy. Yeah.
Did you come out and say like, by the way, I'm not the creator?
No, but you know what's hilarious is I just like started taking credit for every single bad piece of media. What was really funny is Ginny and Georgia came out. And Ginny and Georgia is not a bad TV show, but there was one line that got so much hate where the main girl, I think her name is Ginny, she was like, what do you know? You've dated more guys than Taylor Swift. And everyone was like, this is...
so bad.
Yeah, everyone was like, this is a really sexist line. You're making a comment about Taylor Swift's like dating life, whatever. So I tweeted like, hey guys, as the creator of Ginny and Georgia, I just want to let you know that that was my line and I stand by it. So I said that, right? The Emily in Paris prank had gone on for like 6 months. I never relented. I never once said, this is a bit. Like I was always like, people would be like, are you really the creator of Emily in Paris? And I would be like on Twitter, I'd be like, yes, I'm the creator of Emily in Paris. But the moment I said, hey guys, as the creator of Ginny and Georgia, I okayed this line and I stand by it as a joke, the Swifties came for my throat.
Oh,
they
man.
were like sending me death threats, calling me ugly.
Yeah.
And the tweet was up
Yeah.
for like 12 minutes where I was like, as the creator of Ginny and Georgia, I stand by this line.
Ooh.
Like I refuse to back down. And then Swifties started sending me death threats and I immediately was like, guys, it's a bit, it's a joke.
It's a
like,
joke. Oh.
Please, it's a joke. I'm one of you. Like I'm such a hardcore Swiftie. And then everyone was like, it's so funny how you were unrelenting with Emily in Paris, but the moment you came head to head with the Swifties, you backed.
So did Netflix never like clarify, by the way, she's not, or the production company that actually makes Emily in Paris? Anyone?
No. So
How?
So when BBC reached out and asked to talk to me, I was like, yes, I want to do it. I was like, let me bore at it. This is my Borat moment. Like my biggest comedic inspirations at the time, and still, of course, were like Sacha Baron Cohen. I've seen Borat like a gajillion times, and Nathan Fielder. I've watched Nathan For You like a million times.
That show is hilarious.
So I was like, this is my Sacha Baron Cohen moment. This is my Nathan Fielder moment. Like, I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna be like, yes, my TV show, Emily in Paris. Like, I was ready. Like, I like called a bunch of my actor friends and I was like, help me keep a straight face. My manager was like, you cannot do that. Netflix will sue you. And I love Netflix. Big fan of their work. Didn't want to.
Please give her a special.
Please. I did not want to upset them at all. But I was like, no, like Netflix wouldn't do that. They're like the arbiters of comedy. Like they're like
they get it.
Good,
they're cool.
Yeah, they're super cool. But then they did end up suing a couple of other girls after me for doing a parody of like Bridgerton, I believe. And I think her name was Abby as well. And then I was like, oh yeah, Netflix will sue. Yeah. Which, as is, you're right, Netflix. Although I'm a big fan of the girls that got sued by Netflix, but I'm also a big fan of Netflix. I'm trying to play both sides.
Yeah, I get it. What do you do when you're like not killing out there? You know?
Oh my God. I opened for Nimesh Patel. Do you know who Nimesh Patel is?
I've heard the name.
He's a very famous comedian, and his Netflix special is coming out this week, actually.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. Very talented. And he DM'd me and he asked if I would open for him in New York. I went and I opened for him, and it was clear that his audience did not like me, which is fine. It's totally fine. Like
what do you mean clear? What's going on?
I wasn't bombing, but I wasn't doing as well I was used to doing. I'm so used to, I mean, when you're a comedian and you have the cult following that I do, you're so used to people coming expecting your sense of humor.
Yeah.
But I was opening for him, so the audience was there for him and his sense of humor. And it was clear that my jokes were not resonating with them as much as I was used to my audiences resonating with my comedy. So and it was such a self-fulfilling prophecy in that sense, because I got there and I already felt so left out. Like I was the only woman backstage. I was the youngest one there. They initially turned me away. Like I tried to enter backstage. They turned me away because they thought I was a fan, which is fine. Like I'm not, like Nimesh is so famous. He sells out all the shows. Like I get why they would think that some like Indian woman in her 20s.
That really happened,
Yeah, some Indian woman in her 20s trying to come backstage was a fan. But it really undercut my confidence. Like I was just like, I already felt like I don't belong here. Getting turned away at the door like really made me feel even more like I didn't belong. And so then I hopped on stage and I could tell really quickly the audience wasn't resonating with my material. And then I started feeling nervous in a way that I haven't in years. Like I've been doing this for so long. I've been doing it full time for 3 years. And I know I'm confident in my ability to elicit laughter from an audience. But when it wasn't going the way that I planned, I was like, oh my God, like I'm terrible. I should just quit.
What do you do in that moment?
I feel like it's my job to make you laugh. So if I'm not making you laugh, that's not your fault. That's my fault. Like I have to be doing the mental math on stage of like, what can I say next that'll make them enjoy themselves more? And I was doing a lot of pivoting on stage because I was like trying to find something that this audience would like. And it was clear they didn't like me very much, which is totally fine. Like that's your prerogative. You don't have to like every single audience. And I walked off stage and just feeling more shaken than I had in years. Like I was like, oh my God, should I apologize to him? Should I be like, I'm so sorry. Like, you don't even have to pay me for that. Like, this was crazy. But I was just like, really anxious in a way that I hadn't been since my like open mic days. Like, I was like, oh my God, I don't belong here. Like, I need to move back to Texas. I don't know what I was thinking by doing stand-up comedy. But then his opener went on stage. His opener, Mookie, very talented. And Mookie, I had kind of, the point of the opener is to get the audience riled up so that when the main act comes on stage, they're ready.
Yeah.
I don't want to say I deflated the audience, but I like one step short of deflated the audience. Like I could tell when I hopped off stage, they weren't as high energy as an opener is supposed to have them. But within like 10 seconds, Mookie hopped on stage and they were eating out of the palm of his hand. And then Mookie does his 10 minutes and then he hops off stage and then Nimesh hops on stage. And then again, within like 20 seconds, the audience is like eating out of the palm of his hand. Like they're on this ride with him. He's like doing all these new jokes and old jokes and everyone's laughing, having the time of their life. And in that moment, I realized that how I feel doesn't matter. What I take away from the experience is what matters, because I can't be bitter about doing poorly if this is what I'm going to do for a living. Like I am not a hobby comedian, you know? Like, if you're a hobby painter and then you give a gift of a painting to a friend, obviously that painting is not going to be like amazing, right? Like, as opposed to like a professional painter. But when you're a professional painter and this is what you do for a living and this is what you tell everyone you do for a living, then when people hire you to paint for them, they expect top-notch product. And that's kind of the same with me as a stand-up comedian. Like, I can't go around telling people I'm a stand-up comedian if I'm incapable of making an audience enjoy themselves when I'm on stage. So that's what I realized in that moment. I was like, I need to learn from this experience. Like, I need to make it so that every audience that I get up in front of at the end of my set is enjoying themselves so thoroughly, because I'm a professional and this is what I claim to do full time. So I need to start acting like it. And, you know, I'm still so early in my stand-up journey. Like, I've only been doing this 7 years, but I'm such a insanely better comedian than I was 7 years ago. And 7 years from now, I'll be even better than I am right now. And with stand-up comedy, I think that it's kind of really healed my relationship with aging, because as women, we're made to feel like getting older means that you lose value. But with stand-up comedy, getting older is really the only way you gain value.
Yeah, because you got that experience. What's next for you? What do you got going on?
Well, I am doing shows in Australia.
That's crazy.
I'm like so excited for Australia. I'm doing shows in Europe. I'm currently booking a Europe tour. I'm really trying to make India work with everything in me.
That would be so great.
I love being Indian. I love it. I love being Indian, and Bangalore and Mumbai are my two most requested international cities. And Chennai is my parents' hometown, so obviously I want to perform there. It's just like there's a lot of logistical issues to overcome to book an Indian tour, but I love being Indian so much.
What do you love about being Indian?
I think that being Indian has made me such a well-rounded person. Like, I was traversing the Amazon jungle in Colombia in December, and I stayed with this indigenous family like deep in the jungle. And you know, it was very go with the flow. Like, I got to their house in the middle of the jungle, and they were like, actually, we don't have running water. We just shower in the lake. And I was like, all right, let's go. And then they were like, oh, we don't have a lot of vegetarian options, so we'll just like whip something up for you really quickly. Or like, they were like, oh, we always wake up at like 6 a.m. and like go walk towards the sunrise. And all of those things were things that I had done growing up visiting India. So I was like ready for it. Like, I think it made me a much more flexible person. I love being South Indian. I love South Indian culture. I think like I've been doing this press tour. It's my first press tour of my career. And the most common question that people ask me, they're like, how does your Indian identity affect your comedy? And I'm like, it doesn't. Like, I'm just a goofy person who happens to be Indian. And it, like, I think that when I was younger, I was so allergic to being Indian. Like, I used to do anything to fit in. And then when I got a little bit older, like in my adolescence, I overcorrected a little bit, where I was like leaning so heavy into being Indian because I loved that it made me different. And now I'm neither this nor that. Like, if you look at my Spotify on repeat playlist, it's a mixture of like pop music and South Indian music and Spanish music. I'm really into Spanish music. And I think that What?
Bad Bunny,
Young Miko, Cardi B. You know, like, I think that being Indian is just so a part of who I am. And I think the question needs to be less, how does your Indian identity affect your comedy? And the question needs to be more, or it's not even a question, it should just be more of like, it's so cool that Indian people are allowed to just be goofy, you know? Like, I think that, like, I really like the TV show Delhi Boys, if you've seen it, because it's just two like Pakistani boys who find out that their dad is a major drug dealer, and it's just like a goofy show, and they just happen to be Pakistani. There's no reconciliation with their identity. They're no like, oh, like, here's the trauma I have from like being in a brown family, whatever. It's just like two goofy guys who are stuck in a goofy storyline, and they happen to be Pakistani as well. And I feel like that's really what I'm trying to epitomize. Like, I am Indian and I am a stand-up comedian, and I don't go on stage saying like, here's how being Indian affects me in my day-to-day life. It's just who I am.
Where can people get tickets for what you got going on, your shows coming up?
Oh my God, this is a Talking with Natasha exclusive.
So excited.
I am doing a victory lap tour. So tickets sold so well that I'm going to do another round of shows
Okay.
across the country and the world, and that'll be announced in the coming weeks. So you can go on abbygovindan.com/off-Broadway for tickets.
So great to talk to you.
You too. This was so fun. Thank you so much for
fun.
having me.
Thank you.